Alrighty, so here we are at week 4 attendance, and I put this up because I published week 4 before I did attendance to give those working ahead, which are probably a handful of students at this point, which I say awesome because it's really helpful to me and to them, I think. And really, I would encourage everyone at this point to work ahead as much as you can. Of course, work on up to the due date if that's what works for you as well. But having that good habit of working ahead really helps. So, anyway, here's the topics I want to talk about. And before I say this, I just want to give a shout out to those who are posting on Discord. We've had some really good discussion and questions open on Discord. I think people have kind of figured out my schedule, which, if you don't know, I'm an early morning person. I'm typically not up late at night. Okay. And then in our class channel, if you joined Discord but didn't get in the class channel, make sure you ask me here on the start here so that you get in there, which is great. So just know that this is a wonderful way to get help. If you need during any time, really, because it's not just asking me, it's asking anybody. But the other thing I would say is, and I posted this, is make sure at this point you're not changing code out on GitHub because it can cause a conflict if you're because in this case we've cloned locally, so we're our master, you could think of it, is our local system, and then we're pushing code to GitHub, but we don't necessarily want to change stuff on GitHub. But if you do, I've given you a video here for how to fix conflicts, and that's what it's called. Okay. So shout out to, again, those people out there posting questions. So at this point, I'd kind of written it into the instruction for last week, but I just want to say I want you all to get used to using this display on page. The sooner we get to the browser, the better. And, because it's helpful to start learning the dev tools. This is really why I emphasize the display on page sooner rather than later. And I would like to say a word about, I know that it's a little confusing, the difference between the way our weeks for the public are set up, because it's only one folder. And so that index and by the way, you should be naming your files this index and app.js. Um, but in this case, we're in the same folder, right? And in the case of our boot camp, because we're working in these subfolders in the JS bootcamp folder that I had you create, then we have to, I mean, you could, some of you I've noticed might be doing this where you're creating the index file within here. You can totally do that. I just found it easier to have one index file. Now, this is actually for next week. So kind of don't let this throw you off, right? But and this, all you have to do, in my opinion, this is not that bad to have to do that, but I'd be curious if how's that working for you. But the whole reason you're doing it, and let me just go ahead and right, is to get the experience of doing the inspect. Okay. And then going to your source, looking at your console here. And another question came up is, can I use console instead? I would say you can use both, but for sure you want to use show on page to wherever Andrew has us outputting something to the console. You can still have that line in there, but also have the show on page to get this experience of coming into DevTools and looking at your code. Now, the other thing is, the most important thing I'm going to have you do today is actually watch the video, if you didn't already, that I posted for week 3. So here, right, then I can go into the files of the code that I wrote and I can see that in there. Okay. So just FYI, so we're all on the same page. On the week 4 Learn Together, we're going to cover objects and arrays, which is the week after. We actually spend 2 weeks on arrays before you have your first dev project. Okay. Now I've already gone over the requirements kind of at a high level. So this week, what I want to talk about is the schedule. But before I move on, read week 4 code along carefully, because it's that section, which is objects, is a little longer. So I've given you an opportunity there to kind of, take a break and do it the next night. So, but if you do all of it the next night, right, you're not going to get all the points. So if you want all the points, you can do it all in one setting. I just don't recommend it for the importance of objects in JavaScript. Okay, so one last thing before I look ahead at the dev, and this is what I'd already mentioned. What I want you to do here is, if you haven't already, and even if you have, I think it's a good idea not to toot my own horn if you've ever heard that corny expression. But in week 3, learn together. And actually, by the way, in week 2, I also did a video. I noticed some watched it, but I didn't see anybody say it, which is fine. You don't have to reply to it. Okay, maybe I wanted you to. Maybe that's why I said it. But in here, I did a video that I really want you to watch. And that's part of what I want you to do for attendance here, is that I went over how to use DevTools to walk through code, which some of you, even in the last video, I said, and I showed you at the end, and some of you said you didn't know how to do it. So it's time to learn, because this is how you're going to walk me through your code for your dev project. So go watch this. Okay, so now just to look at the calendar, I want to show you something, and then I'm going to show you something that somebody asked me about. Okay, so if I scroll ahead, now you can see where I'm at when I'm recording this. This is before the start of week 4. And if I scroll into February, and I see that our dev, now by the way, I'm showing both my Python and my JavaScript class because both classes have devs due. So Python is due on Monday, the 14th of February. I'm sorry, Python students, I didn't necessarily think I didn't really have another option there. And JavaScript, yours is a couple of days after on Thursday. Okay. So what this means is you both share a sign up sheet. Okay. Because what happens, and somebody asked me about this, is how do you do these code reviews? Is that you schedule yourself into a session. So let me just go over that concept here. I've created a sheet that I will publish probably next week in the attendance, or maybe actually out on Discord. Another reason to get out there. And what this is these are the dates. And here's what you do. And by the way, even though I've shown, and here, let me roll up so you can see this. Oh, actually, this is reversed. This should be 95 and this should be 93. Okay. So for this class, right? By the way, these are basically my office hours. Okay. So I'm basically allowing students to sign up for my specific office hours. Now, this JavaScript this semester is a larger enrollment class. So I definitely know I'm probably going to have to work with people, and I will do my best to do that. But I'm just giving you an opportunity to sign up now for these. Again, this is next week. So this is how it works. Is I go generally starting the week before the due date. So the Friday before, right? And because here is the deal, is that your due date is on Thursday. Okay. Now, why would I have sessions before the due date? Well, a couple of things, and that's what this line indicates, is that you can either come in for a review or assistance. Okay. And if you want to come in for assistance, the sooner the better. Because as we get down to the due date, then it gets cramped time and it really gets limited because I'm trying to help as many students as I can. So it really is to your advantage to think ahead, plan ahead, start planning now. I've been talking about this dev thing for a little while, and it is going to be your opportunity to write code on your own, come up with your own concepts. Okay. So what you can do here is sign up for either session. Now, if you sign up for a review, you still need to come in for if you sign up for an assistance, you still need to come in for a review. Okay. So I generally see students signing up a little earlier in the week. Okay. And you just put your first name here. It might be helpful as well to put what class you're in, just because, you could actually sign up here as well. That's fine. If there's an open time and it works for you, please sign up so we have that. Notice my one office hour that's late is on Wednesday. So here's what happens is before the due date, if you come in for a review, but I find something in your code, you can fix it if you come in for a code review before the due date. If you come in and you can see this, so that work is due Thursday night for you guys, the 17th. And then what happens is you have a week to do your code review. So if you don't get in to see me, but you submit your code and you feel good about it, then you have that following week to do your review. Now, at this point, and this is what I want to help you understand, is after the due date, you cannot change it to get the points back that you may have missed if you missed something. Okay, so I'm trying to kind of set you up for success, but also give you as much flexibility. Okay, does that make sense? So here's what I'd like to know on this post is, of course, I've had you watch the other thing about coding long. I've walked you through how the signups will go. Um, what questions do you or do you finish this video with? If you don't have any about the schedule, then definitely tell me that you watched the video for week 3 Learn Together, and if it helped you understand how to use the dev tools. All right, have a good one. See you later.